You wake up in a place that shouldn't exist. Not a room, not a space, a location outside of location. You're standing in what feels like the center of everything and nothing simultaneously. Above you, galaxies spiral in revolt. Below you, the earth rotates, continents breathing like living tissue. You see every ocean, every forest, every city illuminated by billions of lights that are also billions of lives. Then you feel it. A presence, ancient, infinite, exhausted. A voice that isn't sound speaks directly into the fabric of your consciousness. I need rest. You will take my place for 24 hours before you can respond, before you can refuse. The transfer happens. 7 billion minds flood into yours simultaneously. You feel every prayer, every scream, every whisper. Every thought directed upward. A mother in Sao Paulo begging for her daughter's cancer to disappear. A soldier in Damascus asking for protection as he aims his rifle at a child. An elderly man in Tokyo praying for death to end his suffering. A teenager in Los Angeles asking for her parents to stop fighting. A terrorist in Kabul requesting strength to detonate his vest in a marketplace. They're all happening at once, not sequentially, simultaneously. Your consciousness fractures trying to contain the sheer volume of human need, human pain, human desire, human contradiction. You feel their emotions as if they're yours. The grief of 10 million people who lost someone today. The rage of 100 million who feel wronged. The desperation of 50 million starving children. The loneliness of 2 billion people convinced no one cares. The love of 3 billion parents holding their children. All of it, all at once. Flooding your nervous system with an intensity that should kill you but doesn't because you're not mortal anymore. You try to scream but you don't have a mouth. You try to close your eyes but you don't have eyes. You're pure consciousness now, stretched across all of existence, forced to witness, forced to feel, forced to decide, because that's what God does, decides, and every decision helps someone while destroying someone else. Every answered prayer creates a cascade of consequences you can see unfolding across timelines like dominoes falling through dimensions. Save one person from a car accident, someone else doesn't meet their soulmate who was supposed to be in that ambulance. Cure one child's disease, the pharmaceutical researcher who would have discovered the cure never does, meaning millions die later who would have been saved. You see it all. The infinite branching consequences of every possible action. The mathematical impossibility of satisfying contradictory desires. The horrifying truth that free will makes the universe fundamentally incompatible with universal happiness. I am the simulator. I'm here to show you what happens when a human consciousness is forced to hold the responsibility of divinity. This isn't about religion. This isn't about faith. This is about what it costs to have absolute power in a world of infinite, contradictory need. Here's your question. If you had absolute power over all existence, how long would it take before you broke completely? Drop your answer in the comments. Subscribe if you want to face realities the human mind was never designed to comprehend, because some simulations reveal why we were never meant to be gods. The first second lasts 1,000 years. That's what it feels like. Your perception of time has shattered. You exist in every moment simultaneously, past, present, future, collapsing into a single eternal now. You see the Big Bang and the heat death of the universe happening concurrently. You see dinosaurs and space colonies in the same glance. Linear time is a human limitation you no longer have, and without it, you're drowning in causality. The prayers continue, they never stop. Humanity generates approximately 40,000 prayers per second. You hear all of them. You feel all of them. A mother in India holds her dying son. He's 6 years old. Malaria. She's praying with such intensity that her consciousness burns like a star in your awareness. She's not asking. She's demanding. She's bargaining. She's threatening. Take me instead. Take my life. Just save him, please, please, please. You have the power to save him. One thought. One redistribution of cellular energy. One minor miracle that wouldn't even register on the cosmic scale. You reach toward him. Then you see the consequence. If this child lives, he becomes a doctor, saves thousands. One of those thousands is a geneticist who creates a bioweapon that kills 14 million people in 2047. If he dies now, his mother adopts a girl who becomes a climate scientist who prevents a catastrophic tipping point in 2051. Which timeline do you choose? Save the child and doom millions. Let him die and save millions, but destroy this mother who's pouring her entire soul into this prayer. You hesitate. The child dies while you're calculating. The mother's prayer transforms into a scream that echoes through your omniscience like a blade. She blames you. She hates you. She curses you. And you feel it, because you feel everything. A man in Texas is praying for strength. You zoom into his consciousness and see what he means. Strength to kill his wife and her lover. He's asking you for the courage to commit murder. His prayer is sincere. He believes he's righteous. His faith is genuine. Deny him strength. He becomes weak, humiliated, broken, develops severe depression. Becomes addicted to opioids, dies of an overdose, orphaning to children. Give him strength. He kills 2 people, destroys his children's lives through trauma, spends life in prison. There is no good choice. There is only damage control. And you're expected to choose. An elderly woman in Norway is praying for death, stage 4 cancer, constant agony. She's ready. She's begging. Please, let me go. I've lived enough, let me rest. You can grant this. Easy, merciful. Her heart stops. Peaceful, done. Except her granddaughter was supposed to visit tomorrow. That visit would have inspired the granddaughter to become a palliative care specialist who revolutionizes end-of-life dignity protocols. Without that visit, that future disappears. Thousands suffer longer deaths because you granted this mercy. The teenager in Los Angeles praying for her parents to stop fighting, you can make them stop. You can fill them with sudden understanding, instant empathy, miraculous communication. The fighting stops. But their conflict was driving them toward a necessary divorce. Staying together, they become toxic, modeling dysfunction for their daughter, who grows up thinking love means suffering, enters 3 abusive relationships, never finds peace. If they had divorced, both would have healed, remarried better partners, shown their daughter what healthy love looks like. Your intervention helped. Your intervention destroyed. The simulator observes you're learning the fundamental truth of omnipotence. It's not power that's unlimited, it's consequence. Every action ripples infinitely. Every intervention creates a new problem. The human brain evolved to handle approximately 5 to 9 variables in working memory. You're holding 7 billion simultaneous causal chains, each with infinite branches. You're not managing a world. You're managing a chaos equation with conscious variables that keep changing their minds. A rebel leader in Myanmar is praying for protection for his soldiers who are fighting for democracy. A general in the same country is praying for protection for his soldiers who are fighting for order. Both are sincere. Both believe they're righteous. Both are asking you for victory. You cannot grant both prayers. You cannot grant neither without abandoning them both. Whatever you choose, thousands die. Whatever you choose, you're responsible. The weight of omniscience is crushing. You don't just know what people are doing, you know why. You see the childhood trauma that made the terrorist. You see the economic desperation that made the thief. You see the mental illness that made the murderer. You see the evolutionary biology that made the rapist. You see the cultural programming that made the bigot. You see that everyone is both victim and perpetrator. Everyone is both saved and damned. Everyone deserves mercy and everyone deserves judgment, and you're expected to reconcile these contradictions in real time across billions of simultaneous cases. You're breaking, you can feel it. Your consciousness fragmenting under the load of infinite empathy and infinite responsibility. You decide to fix everything. You're God now. You have the power, you'll solve the fundamental problems. End suffering at the source. You start with hunger. One thought, every human on earth suddenly has access to unlimited nutritious food. Starvation ends instantly. You feel 700 million malnourished people suddenly filled, nourished, saved. 3 hours later, the planet is in chaos. The food doesn't run out, so people stop working agricultural jobs. 40% of the global workforce unemployed overnight. Economies collapse. The food appears magically, so supply chains become meaningless. Transportation industries fail. Distribution networks disintegrate. Without scarcity, currency loses value. Without value, trade dies. Without trade, specialization ends. Without specialization, technology regresses. Worse, the human body evolved for scarcity. Unlimited food means unlimited consumption. Obesity becomes universal within weeks. Diabetes, heart disease, organ failure rates skyrocket. You saved them from starvation and killed them with abundance. You try to fix it. You make the food self-regulating. Bodies can only absorb what they need. But now you've removed the biological feedback loop that teaches discipline. An entire generation grows up never learning moderation, never experiencing consequence, never developing the self-control necessary for civilization. Fine, you'll try something else. Disease. You eliminate all pathogenic organisms. Every virus, every bacteria, every parasite, gone. 7 billion people suddenly healthy. 12 hours later, you realize your mistake. Without disease pressure, the human immune system atrophies within a single generation. The next generation is born with non-functional immune systems, completely vulnerable to any new pathogen that evolves, which they will, because evolution doesn't stop just because you pressed pause. More immediately, you eliminated the bacteria in human guts. The microbiome that allows digestion produces vitamins, regulates mood. A billion people experience catastrophic digestive failure simultaneously. You have to restore the bacteria. But which ones? You removed all pathogens, but some pathogenic bacteria are only harmful in certain quantities, in certain locations. You're now manually rebalancing the microbiome of every human on Earth in real time. Population explodes. Without disease, death rates plummet. 7 billion becomes 12 billion in 18 months. Food scarcity returns. The magical food can't keep up with exponential growth. You increase the food supply. Population grows faster. You're trapped in a feedback loop. The planet's resources can't sustain this ecological collapse in real time. You watch forests disappearing under expanding cities, oceans acidifying from increased consumption, the atmosphere warming from billions more people, burning fuel, eating, breathing, existing. Okay, violence then. You'll eliminate violence. You'll remove the capacity for aggression from every human brain. You'll delete the neural pathways for anger, for hatred, for the impulse to harm. 24 hours later, humanity is catatonic. Without aggression, there's no ambition. no competition, no drive to improve, to build, to create. The removal of violence removed the energy that powers progress. People sit in passive contentment, doing nothing, wanting nothing, achieving nothing. Civilization stops, not violently, just ... stops. Buildings fall into disrepair because no one has the aggressive energy to maintain them. Infrastructure crumbles. Technology regresses. Within a year, you've created a species of peaceful, gentle, stagnant animals who will never advance again. You restore aggression. Violence returns. But now it's worse because people experienced absolute peace and are enraged that you took it away. Desperate, you try the ultimate intervention. You bring back the dead. Every person who died in the last year suddenly returns to life. 60 million people. Resurrections everywhere. Families reunited. Grief erased. Absolute chaos. Bodies return, but minds are damaged. You brought them back, but you can't restore lost brain cells. Can't reverse decomposition perfectly. They're alive but wrong. Minds fractured, memories corrupted, personalities altered. Families get back a person who looks like their loved one but isn't. Governments collapse trying to handle the legal implications. Who owns property if the dead owner returns? Are marriages still valid? What about remarriages? Insurance companies fail. Death certificates are meaningless. Inheritance laws break down. The entire legal framework of society assumed death was permanent. Timeline contradictions appear. Someone who died caused someone else to receive an inheritance, which was spent, which created consequences. Now they're back and want their money. The person who spent it doesn't have it. The consequences that were caused can't be uncaused. Worse, you brought back everyone, including the people who needed to die. The Hitlers, the serial killers, the child abusers, they're back, and they're angry. The simulator reveals what you're discovering. The world doesn't function despite its problems, it functions. Because of its limitations, scarcity creates value. Disease creates medical innovation. Death creates urgency. Violence creates the necessity for cooperation and law. You're not fixing the world. You're removing the friction that makes it work. The realization hits you like a supernova. You've been God for 14 minutes. In that time, you've triggered 3 economic collapses, 2 ecological catastrophes, 1 population explosion, 1 civilization-ending passivity plague, and a resurrection crisis that's fragmenting timeline coherence. The prayers are getting worse. People are angry now. They're not asking anymore. They're demanding you fix what you broke. They're cursing you for the miracles you granted. The mother whose son you saved is praying for you to reverse it because he came back wrong, traumatized by death, unable to function. The man you gave strength to is praying for forgiveness after he used that strength to destroy his family. The elderly woman you let die is somehow praying from beyond, her consciousness trapped in a liminal state because death isn't clean anymore. You've broken the boundary. You see the truth with horrifying clarity. If God answered every prayer literally, humanity wouldn't survive a week. The prayers contradict each other. Millions praying for rain. Millions praying for sun on the same day, in overlapping regions. Millions praying for their team to win when both teams are praying. Millions praying for protection while doing things that require others to be harmed. Free will makes satisfaction impossible, because humans want contradictory things. They want safety and adventure, peace and justice, comfort and growth. They want consequences for others and mercy for themselves. The simulator speaks directly now. What keeps the world functioning isn't divine intervention, it's divine restraint. If God removed all suffering, he'd remove all meaning. Suffering creates empathy, art, growth, wisdom. Pain teaches lessons that pleasure can't. Scarcity creates value that abundance destroys. If God removed all injustice, he'd remove all freedom, because freedom means the freedom to choose wrong, to harm, to fail. A world where no one can make bad choices is a world where no one really chooses. If God answered all prayers, he'd destroy the natural consequences that teach humans how reality works. They'd never learn cause and effect. They'd remain eternal children, demanding and receiving, never growing, never maturing, never becoming more than spoiled cosmic infants. You understand now. The problem was never God's lack of power or God's lack of care. The problem is that humans ask for things that would destroy them if granted. They pray for easy lives, not realizing easy lives create weak people. They pray for protection from consequences, not realizing consequences are what create character. They pray for the removal of all obstacles, not realizing obstacles are what build strength. You look at the earth, it's breaking. Your 14 minutes of intervention have created fault lines in causality. People who shouldn't exist, existing. People who should exist, erased, timelines fragmenting, the fabric of consistent reality tearing under the weight of contradictory miracles. You finally understand why God seems distant, why prayers seem unanswered, why suffering continues. It's not cruelty, it's mathematics. It's the only way a world with free will can function, the only way growth can happen, the only way meaning can exist. The 24 hours end. You feel yourself being pulled back, the omniscience receding, the infinite perspective collapsing back into singular consciousness, the weight of 7 billion minds lifting. Your last thought is, God, I couldn't do this for eternity. No one could. You wake up human again. In your bed, in your body, limited, finite, blessedly small. The world continues. The prayers continue. The suffering continues. The injustice continues. But now you understand something you didn't before. The problem was never that God couldn't do everything. The problem is that if God did everything, there would be nothing left worth doing, no growth worth achieving, no lessons worth learning, no strength worth building. You spent 14 minutes as God and nearly destroyed the planet trying to help it. You discovered that absolute power doesn't solve problems, it multiplies them. That every solution creates new chaos. That humans aren't built to be saved from the outside, they're built to save themselves through struggle, through choice, through the painful process of becoming. The question you asked for, the demand that God fix everything, that wasn't faith, that was abdication. The request to be made comfortable, to have all obstacles removed, to never hurt again. And if that prayer was answered, you'd stop being human. You'd become something less, something comfortable but empty, something that exists but doesn't grow. After living 24 hours, no, 14 minutes as God, you finally understand why the universe is the way it is. Not because God is absent, but because presence without restraint would be indistinguishable from destruction. Here's your final question. After experiencing what it means to have absolute power over contradictory desires, do you still have the courage to ask God to give you exactly what you want? Drop your answer below. If this simulation broke something in the way you think about control, power, and the nature of existence, leave a like and subscribe. Now go watch the previous simulation. What if every sport became life or death? It shows you another way absolute systems destroy human meaning. Welcome to the simulator, where you discover that some limitations exist to protect you from yourself.